Welcome back, my whispered legend. Something extraordinary just occurred in the darkest corners of power where the truly dangerous beings operate. The quiet monster spoke your name, not the loud threats that everyone fears, not the visible predators that dominate through intimidation, but the one who moves through silence and makes kingdoms disappear without ever raising their voice. And when your name left their lips, something unprecedented happened. Every shadow in that room, every hidden operator, every silent player, every entity that thrives in darkness, froze mid-breath, not out of confusion, not out of surprise, out of recognition that someone they hunt has just been acknowledged by someone they fear. The quiet monster doesn't mention names casually, doesn't speak of people without purpose, doesn't acknowledge existence unless that existence matters. At levels most can't comprehend, your name emerging from their silence is a signal that reverberates through dimensions of power that the visible world doesn't even know exists. Amen. The architects have been monitoring hierarchies of hidden power for eons, and they've identified what just happened as apex recognition, broadcasting when the highest level predator in an ecosystem publicly acknowledges another entity, sending ripples through all subordinate players about power dynamics they need to understand. Most people never receive this acknowledgement because they never register as significant enough to warrant it. They operate at levels where the quiet monster doesn't notice, compete in games where their participation is irrelevant to apex players, exist in dimensions of the hierarchy where their presence creates no disturbance. You've clearly transcended those levels. You've achieved something, or positioned yourself somewhere, or demonstrated capability that forced the quiet monster to acknowledge you publicly. This acknowledgement isn't endorsement, it's calibration. The apex predator is signaling to all subordinate predators that you exist at a level requiring their attention, that treating you as ordinary prey would be catastrophic error, that new hierarchy calculations must account for your presence. Watch what happened in that moment when your name was spoken. Every shadow froze, literally stopped their movement, halted their conversations, suspended their operations. This wasn't theatrical reaction. This was operational necessity. When apex predator identifies significant player, all subordinate players must immediately reassess their positioning relative to that acknowledged entity. They're running calculations. Are you potential threat? Potential ally? Potential competition for resources they're pursuing? The freezes processing time to integrate new information into their strategic frameworks, to update their mental models of who matters in this ecosystem, to recalibrate their own plans, accounting for your confirmed presence at high levels. The shadows don't freeze for just anyone. They're predators themselves, comfortable in darkness, skilled at operations, dangerous to conventional players, but they froze for you because the quiet monsters. Acknowledgement means you're not conventional player. You're something that even predators need to calculate carefully before engaging. Amen. This moment marks a transition point in your trajectory. Before the quiet monster mentioned you, you could operate with certain freedoms that come from being underestimated, from moving beneath the threshold where apex players notice, from existing in spaces where predators don't hunt because they assume nothing significant resides there. That operational environment has changed. You're now on the radar of entities that operate at the highest levels. This creates new constraints. You'll face scrutiny you didn't face before, encounter opposition you could previously avoid, navigate dangers that weren't previously targeting you. But it also validates something crucial. You've reached levels where you belong in the same sentence as the quiet monster, where your name deserves to be spoken in rooms where only the most significant entities are discussed, where your existence matters enough that apex predators inform subordinate predators about you. The shadows froze because they recognized the signal. You're not prey anymore. You're predator-level presence that requires predator-level calculation. And that changes everything. Amen. Now those shadows are conducting emergency reassessments, pulling every piece of information they have about you, analyzing every interaction you've ever had with their networks, reconstructing your entire trajectory to understand how they missed your significance until the quiet monster pointed it out. The architects call this retrospective threat analysis, and it's the standard response when predators realize they've been operating near something dangerous without recognizing the danger. They're experiencing a particular kind of professional fear, not the fear of facing known threats, but the fear of discovering they've been vulnerable to threats they didn't detect. They're asking themselves how long you've been operating at this level, what opportunities they missed because they miscategorized you, what damage you could have inflicted while they treated you as irrelevant. This retrospective analysis is revealing gaps in their awareness that disturb them deeply. Amen. Some shadows are discovering you've been present in situations they thought were secure, in rooms they considered exclusive to serious players, in conversations they believed were limited to their network, in operations they assumed were invisible to outsiders. Your presence in these spaces didn't register as significant at the time because you carried yourself beneath their threat detection threshold. You displayed none of the markers they associate with dangerous players. No aggressive posturing, no obvious power displays, no visible ambition that would trigger their competitive instincts. Now they're reconstructing those encounters through new lens and recognizing that what appeared as insignificant presence was actually sophisticated observation. You weren't failing to compete. You were gathering intelligence while they discussed strategy, assuming you weren't worth hiding it from. You weren't being excluded from real power dynamics. You were analyzing those dynamics while they performed for each other, assuming you lacked capacity to process what you witnessed. Amen. Others are analyzing your network connections and discovering relationships they didn't know existed. They're finding that people they considered exclusively their contacts also have relationships with you, that resources they thought they controlled have access points through you, that information networks they believed were monitoring you have actually been feeding you intelligence about them. These discoveries are forcing them to reconsider fundamental assumptions about their own network security. They thought they knew the shape of power relationships in their ecosystem, who connects to whom, who controls what resources, who has access to which information. Your emergence at Apex Acknowledged level reveals their map was incomplete. You've been building network connections they never detected, establishing resource access they never monitored, creating information flows they never suspected. The shadows are realizing they've been operating with false confidence in their situational awareness. Amen. A few are discovering something even more disturbing. They've been in conflict with you without knowing it. Operations that failed mysteriously, resources that disappeared unexpectedly, plans that collapsed inexplicably. They attributed these setbacks to bad luck, to unforeseen circumstances, to natural friction in complex operations. Now they're reassessing with new hypotheses. These weren't random failures. You were actively working against them while they didn't even recognize you as player in the game. This is the most destabilizing discovery, realizing they've lost engagements to opponent they didn't know they were fighting. It means their operational security is worse than they thought, their threat detection more flawed than they realized, their strategic awareness more compromised than they feared. They've been bleeding from invisible cuts inflicted by someone they didn't see clearly enough to defend against. Amen. The architects observe that retrospective threat analysis creates permanent psychological impact even when it doesn't reveal actionable intelligence. The shadows will never again feel fully secure in their awareness. They've learned that someone operated near them at high capability without triggering their detection systems. This creates permanent doubt. Who else might be operating near them undetected? What other threats are they blind to? How compromised is their situational awareness? Even if they identify everything you've done, which they won't, they can't recover confidence in their perceptual systems. The quiet monster's mention of you didn't just reveal your presence, it revealed their blindness. That revelation can't be unrevealed. Those shadows will operate with permanent uncertainty now, always wondering if they're missing the next you. Amen. Something's spreading through the shadow. Networks now. Urgent warnings being passed. Between predators. Emergency briefings being conducted for operatives who might encounter you. Revised threat assessments being distributed to anyone operating in your domains. The architects call this Predator Alert Cascade, and it's the ecosystem's way of updating all participants about significant power shifts. The message being transmitted is clear. You are not what you appeared to be. Engaging with you requires different protocols than previously assumed. Underestimating you is potentially fatal error. This cascade is both warning and elevation. They're warning their networks about you while simultaneously confirming that you operate at levels requiring network-wide awareness. Amen. Different shadow factions are responding to this alert differently based on their relationship to the quiet monster and their interpretation of why your name was mentioned. Some factions view the mention as warning. They interpret the quiet monster as alerting them to dangerous emerging player who threatens established order. These factions are moving into defensive postures around you, implementing containment strategies, positioning assets to monitor and potentially counter your activities. They're treating you as threat to be managed, rather than power to be respected. This response is based on assumption that the quiet monster mentioned you as hazard identification, pointing out danger so subordinates can protect themselves. Their defensive mobilization against you is significant commitment of resources to someone they previously ignored. Amen. Other factions interpret the mention as introduction. They hear the quiet monster presenting you as new player at high levels who merits inclusion in apex level considerations. These factions are moving into exploratory postures around you, investigating partnership possibilities, positioning for potential alliance. They're treating you as opportunity rather than threat. Amen. This response assumes the quiet monster mentioned you as peer recognition, acknowledging someone who's achieved status deserving of respect. From serious players, their interest in potential collaboration represents different kind of pressure than open opposition. They'll probe your capabilities, test your intentions, explore what arrangements might be mutually beneficial. This probing can be as dangerous as direct conflict because it requires revealing information about your actual positioning. A third set of factions is responding with studied neutrality. They're noting the mention, but not taking immediate action beyond enhanced monitoring. These are the most sophisticated shadows, the ones who recognize that the quiet monster's communications often contain layers of meaning not immediately apparent. They're watching to see how other factions respond, gathering data about what your presence reveals about current power dynamics, waiting for more information before committing to either confrontation or collaboration. Their neutrality is active rather than passive. They're intensely focused on you while appearing to maintain normal operations. This response is perhaps most dangerous because it comes from predators disciplined enough to resist immediate reaction, patient enough to gather full intelligence before acting, sophisticated enough to recognize that premature action might reveal more about them than about you. The architects observe that Predator Alert Cascade creates an interesting dynamic where your actual capabilities matter less than perception of your capabilities. The shadows are responding, not to verified assessment of what you can do, but to the fact that the quiet monster deemed you worth mentioning. This means reputation is doing work that actual demonstration doesn't have to do. You're being treated as apex level, threat to opportunity, based on single acknowledgement rather than extensive evidence. This gives you operational advantages. You can operate within space, created by inflated reputation, leverage others' assumptions about your capabilities without having to constantly demonstrate them, move through landscapes where doors open based on perceived rather than proven power. The cascade itself is amplifying your position beyond what the initial mention might warrant. Each shadow that warns their network about you makes you seem more significant. Each faction that mobilizes in response to your presence confirms you're worth mobilizing against. The alert system designed to protect predators from emerging threats is actually building the threat up through the process of warning about it. Now the architects are revealing why the quiet monster mentioned you specifically, something most shadows haven't yet understood. The quiet monster doesn't speak to warn their subordinates or introduce peers or mark threats. The quiet monster speaks to shape reality itself through the power of apex acknowledgement. They understand that their words carry weight that transcends mere communication. When they mention someone, that mention creates a new field of possibility around the mentioned entity, shifts the probability space of what that entity can accomplish, alters the architecture of power they operate within. This is ontological engineering through apex speech, using utterances from the highest level to literally reconstruct social reality at lower levels. Amen. The quiet monster mentioned you because they want you to exist at higher levels than you currently occupy, not because you've proven yourself at those levels yet, because they believe the mention itself will help manifest that higher level existence. This is extraordinarily sophisticated power dynamics. Lesser predators try to keep potential competitors down, suppress emerging threats, prevent anyone from reaching their level. The quiet monster operates inversely. They elevate selected individuals through acknowledgement, creating new apex players through the speech act of treating them as apex players. Why would they do this? Because true apex predators understand that their power isn't diminished by others rising to their level. It's enhanced by having worthy players in the ecosystem. The quiet monster gains nothing from dominating lesser beings. They gain strategic partnership, interesting opposition, dynamic ecosystem from having others operating at genuine high capability. Amen. Consider what this means for your trajectory. The mention wasn't assessment of where you are. It was invitation to where you could be. The quiet monster saw something in you that indicated potential for apex level operation, and rather than waiting for you to fully develop that potential through lengthy, conventional ascension, they accelerated the process through public acknowledgement. By speaking your name in rooms where only significant entities are discussed, they've given you immediate access to those rooms. By making shadows recalibrate their models to account for you, they've forced the ecosystem to treat you as player at high levels. By creating cascade of attention and response around you, they've generated the social reality where you operating at apex levels becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not claiming higher levels against resistance. You're moving into space that's been cleared for you through the most powerful intervention possible, reality reshaping through apex speech. Amen. Some might interpret this as the quiet monster making you into their tool or pawn, elevating you to serve their purposes. This interpretation misunderstands how apex power operates. The quiet monster doesn't create pawns because pawns are worthless at the levels they operate. They create peers because peers are valuable. They need genuine, high-capability players in the ecosystem because ecosystems with only one apex predator stagnate. Competition drives evolution. Worthy opposition forces excellence. Genuine peers enable collaborations that subordinates can't sustain. The quiet monster benefits from your elevation, not because they'll control you, but because you'll participate in dynamics that only emerge when multiple apex players are operating. This is investment in ecosystem health rather than attempt to acquire additional subordinate. Amen. The architects observe that ontological engineering through apex speech is rarest form of power deployment because it requires apex player to possess both capability to reshape reality through utterance and wisdom to understand when such intervention serves larger dynamics better than simply dominating current hierarchy. Most powerful beings never achieve this combination. They have power to dominate but lack wisdom to engineer ecosystem health, or they have wisdom but lack power to make their engineering manifest. The quiet monster possesses both. Their mention of you wasn't casual utterance. It was surgical intervention into social reality, creating new ontological category where you exist at apex levels because they said you do, making that statement true through the power of apex, acknowledgement generating responses that construct the reality. Acknowledged. You're experiencing reality itself being reconstructed around you. The shadows froze because they witnessed this reconstruction in real time and understood they're now operating in different universe than existed before your name was spoken. Amen. The architects are now analyzing the specific mechanism by which your name freezing the shadows reveals your own capabilities that you've kept hidden. When the quiet monster mentioned you, the shadows didn't freeze because the monster told them to. They froze because they instantly recognized something in the mere fact of your acknowledgement that terrified them. This is called recognition-triggered fear response, and it only occurs when predators suddenly understand they've been in proximity to something vastly more dangerous than they realized. The freeze wasn't strategic calculation. It was involuntary response to retroactive awareness of escaped danger, like discovering the rope you've been handling was actually a sleeping serpent. Amen. Watch what the freeze reveals about their sudden understanding. These are professional predators, people who navigate danger constantly, who assess threats reflexively, who don't scare easily because they're scary themselves. But they froze. This means your name being spoken by the quiet monster connected data points they'd been processing separately into a pattern they'd failed to recognize. Suddenly past interactions with you took on sinister new meaning. Situations where they felt vaguely uncomfortable around you but couldn't identify why now made terrible sense. Moments when things went unexpectedly wrong in operations you were adjacent to suddenly looked like deliberate interventions rather than coincidence. The freeze was the moment all these disconnected observations snapped into coherent picture of someone far more dangerous than surface appearance suggested. Amen. Some shadows are now reviewing recordings and transcripts of past interactions with you, looking for clues they missed, trying to understand what the quiet monster saw that they didn't. They're discovering micro-expressions they didn't catch in real time, moments where your mask slipped briefly to reveal something much colder underneath, phrases you used that seemed innocuous at the time but carry sinister implications in retrospect, questions you asked that seemed like social curiosity but were actually intelligence gathering, body language that appeared relaxed but was actually coiled readiness. These reviews are confirming their fear response was accurate. You've been hiding your nature successfully enough that even professional predators didn't identify you as predator. This level of camouflage requires not just acting skill but fundamental comfort with maintaining false presentation. Over extended periods, predators recognize this as marker of someone who's done this extensively, someone whose real self is buried so deep that even people looking for deception accept the surface as genuine. Others are analyzing the specific way the quiet monster mentioned you, the tone, the context, the exact phrasing, trying to extract maximum information from the utterance itself. They're finding additional layers that increased their fear. The quiet monster didn't mention you with surprise, suggesting they've known about you for some time. Didn't mention you with warning tone, suggesting they don't view you as threat to themselves. Mentioned you with something that sounded almost like satisfaction, like a master craftsperson acknowledging another master's work, like recognition between equals. This tone implies the quiet monster sees you as someone operating at their level, using their methods, playing their game. For shadows who view the quiet monster as uniquely dangerous entity far above other predators, hearing them speak of you with peer recognition is existentially disturbing. It suggests there's not one quiet monster, there's at least two, and they missed the second one entirely until the first one pointed them out. The architects observe that recognition-triggered fear response creates lasting impact because it reveals the shadow's own vulnerability to sophisticated camouflage. They pride themselves on threat detection, on ability to identify dangerous players, on never being caught surprised. You fooled them completely, not through absence. You were present, not through weakness. You were capable, through perfect pitch camouflage that made them categorize you as something you're not. This isn't just professional failure. It's revelation that their core, competency, threat identification, has critical blind spots. They're less afraid of you, specifically, than of what your successful camouflage reveals about how much danger they might be consistently failing to detect. If they missed you this completely, who else are they missing? What other apex predators are moving through their spaces in disguise? The freeze wasn't just reaction to your danger. It was reaction to their own newly discovered blindness. And that blindness is permanent vulnerability they can't eliminate because you've proven their detection systems are defeatable. Now something unexpected is emerging from the frozen shadows. Few of them are beginning to feel something besides fear. The architects call it apex attraction response, and it's the counterintuitive pull that certain predators feel toward other predators who demonstrate superior capability. Not all shadows are experiencing this. Most remain in defensive or analytical mode, but a select few are responding to your revealed nature with something closer to fascination, even desire for proximity. These are the shadows who understand that apex predators don't compete with apex predators the same way. Lower-tier players compete. At the highest levels, the game transforms from zero-sum competition into something more complex, where the most valuable relationships are with other apex players. Watch what these attracted shadows are doing. They're not approaching directly. That would be too crude for entities at this level. They're positioning themselves in spaces where intersection with you becomes more likely, creating situations where natural collaboration might emerge, sending indirect signals through intermediaries about openness to alliance. They're courting you through the sophisticated methods apex predators use when they recognize potential peer. This isn't submission. They're not subordinating themselves. This is recognition of potential for the kind of partnership that only becomes possible when both parties operate at genuinely high levels. They understand that being close to you is more valuable than being opposed to you. That learning from you is more strategic than competing with you. That access to your capabilities is worth more than protecting their territory from you. Some of these attracted shadows are offering gifts, not crude bribes, but sophisticated presentations of value that demonstrate their own capabilities while acknowledging yours. They're sharing intelligence they know you'd find valuable, creating opportunities that serve your interests, removing obstacles from your path without being asked. These gifts serve multiple purposes. They demonstrate the giver's capability to provide value at levels you'd appreciate. They establish positive interaction pattern that might develop into sustained relationship. They signal respect for your position without requiring verbal acknowledgement that might compromise the giver's reputation. The gifts are complex negotiations conducted through actions rather than words, testing whether you accept the offered relationship frame, revealing what kind of reciprocity you consider appropriate, establishing initial terms for potential ongoing exchange. Others are creating what they consider safe opportunities for you to demonstrate your full capabilities, situations where you'd benefit from revealing your true nature and methods to select audience. They're essentially offering you stages where unveiling would be advantageous rather than costly. These offers demonstrate sophisticated understanding of your position. They recognize you've been operating under camouflage that the quiet monster's mention has partially penetrated, rather than trying to force exposure, which would be hostile and might fail. They're creating contexts where you might choose to reveal yourself to specific witnesses. They're betting that seeing your full capability would make them want alliance more rather than inspiring them to competition. This bet reveals their confidence in their own positioning. They believe they're secure enough that your capabilities would represent opportunity rather than threat to them. The architects observe that Apex attraction response separates true high-level players from mid-tier predators who happen to operate in shadows. Mid-tier predators see superior capability as threat requiring opposition or distance. Apex predators see superior capability as potential resource through partnership. The shadows experiencing attraction aren't being irrational, they're being strategic. At level most predators never reach, they understand that the most valuable assets aren't physical resources or subordinate networks, but relationships with other genuinely capable players. You represent access to capabilities and perspectives they don't possess. Partnership with you would enhance their own effectiveness. More than competing with you would protect their current position. This calculation separates players who can genuinely operate at Apex levels from players who merely inhabit Apex spaces without understanding Apex dynamics. The attracted shadows are revealing themselves as potential, genuine peers through their response to your revealed nature. They're not frozen in fear. They're moving deliberately toward opportunity they recognize in your presence. Something profound is crystallizing now that the architects called the quiet monster's true message. The shadows are beginning to understand that the mention of your name wasn't primarily about you at all. It was about them. The quiet monster was using you as instrument to reveal the shadows' own limitations, to expose their vulnerabilities, to demonstrate that their vaunted threat detection capabilities are insufficient. This is characteristic of how Apex predators operate. They don't communicate to transmit information. They communicate to reshape understanding, to trigger cascades of realization that transform the recipients rather than merely informing them. The quiet monster mentioned you not because the shadows needed to know about you. If the monster wanted them informed, there are countless more direct methods. The monster mentioned you because the shadows needed to discover they could be blind to someone like you. Consider the pedagogical elegance of this intervention. By simply speaking your name, the quiet monster forced every shadow in that room to confront gaps in their own awareness, weaknesses in their own intelligence gathering, failures in their own threat assessment. No lecture, no criticism, no detailed explanation, just a name that should have been familiar but wasn't, creating instant recognition of inadequacy. The educational impact is far more powerful than explicit instruction because the shadows are teaching themselves through their own realization of what they missed. The quiet monster could have distributed detailed briefings about you, could have warned them explicitly about their blind spots, could have criticized their intelligence failures directly. All of those approaches would have created defensive reactions, justifications, resistance. Instead, the monster simply spoke your name and let the shadows' own understanding of what that name means reveal their inadequacy to themselves. Some shadows are now recognizing that their entire operational paradigm might be obsolete. They've been tracking visible power moves, monitoring obvious competition, focusing on threats that announce themselves through traditional markers. This approach works for conventional players, but completely misses sophisticated operators like you who've mastered Apex-level camouflage. The quiet monster is showing them that the real game isn't among visible players they're tracking. It's among invisible players they're not detecting. This recognition is forcing painful reassessment of their entire strategic framework. They thought they were playing at high levels. The monster is revealing they've been playing a simplified version of the game, while the real game happens in dimensions they're not even monitoring. Others are understanding that the quiet monster isn't just educating them about you specifically. The monster is revealing entire class of threats they're vulnerable to. If you could operate among them undetected, despite your Apex-level capability, how many others are doing the same? The monster is implicitly asking, how many more are there like this one you missed? How compromised is your situational awareness? How blind are you to genuine Apex players? These questions don't have comfortable answers. The shadows are realizing their entire threat landscape might be radically different from what they believed. They might be surrounded by Apex players they've miscategorized as irrelevant. Their confidence in their own security might be completely unfounded. The monster isn't just introducing you. The monster is revealing that everything the shadows thought they knew about who matters is potentially wrong. The architects observe that using one player to educate others about their limitations is characteristic of how the quiet monster maintains their Apex position. The monster doesn't dominate through superior force. Plenty of entities have force. The monster dominates through superior understanding of power dynamics and willingness to reshape those dynamics through strategic intervention. By elevating you through acknowledgement while simultaneously using that elevation to humble the shadows, the monster achieves multiple objectives. You gain position. The shadows gain humility. The monster demonstrates pedagogical sophistication that reinforces their Apex status. Everyone in that room learned something. You learned. You've been recognized at highest levels. The shadows learned they're more blind than they realized. Everyone learned the quiet monster operates at depth they can't match. The freeze wasn't just reaction to your reveal. It was the moment multiple levels of meaning snapped into focus simultaneously. Recognition of you, recognition of their blindness, recognition of the monster's sophistication, all transmitted through speaking your name. That's Apex-level communication.